Hello, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubaku. Today on the show, Governor Zulum wants mercenaries to return to help defeat Boko Haram as terrorists raise Kareto, kill 13 loggers in Damboa. Also on the program, Oyo State Governor Rotimi Makinde showers praise on Oyo Governor Boyega Oyetola for signing off LAUTECH, says action boosts Southwest integration. Finally today, parallel market trades at 500 naira to $1 as central bank adjusts exchange rate. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Jomi Owokwe, and Olabisi Deji Fulutule. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us again. Borno State Governor has recommended the engagement of mercenaries by the federal government to fight Boko Haram. Governor Zulum made this call when the Senate President Ahmed Lawa led government delegation to commiserate with the government and the people of Borno State over the recent murder of more than 43 farmers. His call is generating reactions just as suspended Boko Haram insurgents again attacked and killed at least 13 loggers in Damboa and burnt down the ancient town of Kareto in Borno State. Babajide, let's now. Okay. Yes, my president just told you now. Before we go into the discussion, let's show you the rowdy session at the floor of the House of Representatives over the insecurity in the Northeast.
Has condemned the senseless killing of several hardworking farmers by terrorists as the entire country is hurt by the discharge. Also aware of the urgent need for the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to recognize the security architecture of the country, to end insurgency in the Northeast, banditry in the Northwest, and all acts of terrorism across Nigeria. Resolve to urge the federal government to declare a state of emergency in the nation's security sector. Condemn the killing of unarmed civilian and farmers of Zabarmari village of Jere Federal Constituency in Borno State by suspected Boko Haram insurgency on Saturday.
So the House should mandate the House Committee on Defense and Finance to investigate the status of the procurement of $1 billion worth of equipment since 2018. 3. Since non-state actors can bear arms and kill our citizens without any let or hindrance, Mr. Speaker, the House should seek an amendment to the Firearms Act to give eligible Nigerians the right to bear arms.
I succumb to the First Amendment, but I do not succumb to the Second Amendment. We are already faced with the issue of insecurity. By the time you allow Nigerians now to own arms, bear arms, you are causing problem. So I want us to take the amendments one after that, will not just lump them.
I would prefer to die if my people can live in peace. Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the security situation in the country, especially in the Northeast.
I want to appeal that the leadership of the House should meet Mr. President in the villa to discuss this issue so that they will come back and brief the House. I so come, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Some issues may not necessarily have to warrant inviting Mr. President to the floor of the House to come and explain. These are security issues. I also want to appeal to members of this great House that while I share the same emotion and concern for the matter raised, I want to appeal and still emphasize on the appeal by the Speaker that members do not have to go this far. I would like to appeal to you that we have so many ways to kill the rat. We have so many ways and options to reach out to executive. But we do not have to necessarily invite Mr. President to come to the floor here and explain, because certain explanations to do with the security nature of the country may be too sensitive to become to be expressed here in public.
Will not be to invite the president to come and disclose issues of security and what they are doing. It will be counterproductive. And I understand the feelings and the emotions which you display and which you've always displayed on issues such as this. And I share that passion, I share that emotion. But in being, as parliamentarians, we must sometimes balance it and not just be a knee-jerk agreement with what is actually
But you know what is actually the big deal for Mr. President to go to the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, to go and tell them, maybe in a closed-door session, what he's actually doing to stem the tide of the insecurity around the country?
I don't see any big deal in the National Assembly inviting the president. The president is not too big to be invited to come and talk to the representatives of the Nigerian people. It's not everything that we play politics about. If there are issues that the generality of the people do not need to know, then the president can go into a closed-door session.
Yes.
And then disclose to these honorable members why certain steps have to be taken and what he is doing to address the issue of insecurity. Some of those things, yes, I agree, the whole world does not have to know. But nothing stops him from meeting the National Assembly. After all, he goes to the National Assembly to read his budget and all that, because they have the final say on the president, on the budget. So nothing says a president cannot go and meet the National Assembly member and say, gentlemen, you people do not understand why I'm holding on to the service chips. These are my reasons.
Do you understand?
You people do not
Just
have
try
the
and
information
carry-
that I have.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be all the time that a few members of the National Assembly will just go to Aso Rock and then they will explain to them, they will come out smiling. Smiles that do not come from the bottom of their hearts, they pretend to themselves, come out, and then Nigerians will be angry. So there's no big deal in that suggestion that the president should come and meet them, because ordinarily, in some countries, the kind of insecurity that we are facing require drastic actions even by the National Assembly itself, by the parliament, to put everybody on his toes, including the president. I think it's getting to the point now that these lawmakers, including the hypocritical ones among them must realize that even their own lives are in danger. Their own lives too are in danger. How many of them can travel by road to Kano? Leave Abuja, drive through that dangerous Abuja-Kaduna highway, move to Kano, still driving. A lot of them, they now either they enter train or they enter an aircraft. That's what they are doing. They know in their hearts of hearts that insecurity is so pervasive in our country. But people would rather play party politics over these matters. It has gone beyond that point. And they must also realize that even some of their actions would demarcate their own party. So this is the time for people to not lose their heads and just do what is right in the interest of the generality of our people.
This is, as you said, as Babajide said, this is not the time to play politics. This is not the time. We're not interested in who is APC or who is PDP. This is the time for Nigerians to stand up as one and fight this insecurity. And that should be the same spirit in the National Assembly. But when you look at the quality of their discussion, when you see some people standing up that, nah, Mr. President does not have to come. When you listen to Honorable Adedogowa, you know that those are APC leaders, chieftains that don't want, so you know, the National Assembly to look as if they want to embarrass Mr. President.
Yeah, that's the point. It seems some of our lawmakers have not actually understood the import of the problem that we are having. It appears from the debate from this the rowdy session, that some people still think that the president is doing will be doing us a favor by coming out to even talk to us, not knowing that this is a major problem. This is a major national emergency. I don't even see any reason why the president should meet with the lawmakers in a closed-door meeting. You know what? When it comes out like that, there is an issue of moral boosting. In fact, Nigerians are so discouraged. They are so confused. They don't even know if government is working or not. So giving the president the opportunity to come and to talk to the people is even going to help the president himself to explain himself to Nigerians, because he has been accused of being too far from the people, of not even knowing what is happening. And really, you cannot blame people when they talk like that, because it's like we can almost recite what will come out from the mouth of our president anytime there is an attack. Yes. We can always say it, even before he comes out to say it. So people are already saying that we know what he will say. But if he comes out and he even talks to people and tells them that, look, it is not like that. We are doing our best. These are the steps we are taking. But shielding him and making it appear as if this is APC matter is complicating issues. It gives one the impression that even our lawmakers don't even understand what Nigerians are going through. We are telling you that 43 farmers were slaughtered while in a farm, not a few hours after that.
There are no more than 43.
Exactly. Few hours after that, about 13 people were reported killed. You know, different places, different angles. I don't think this is a time to politicize anything.
Yomi, now when you now look at the situation now, it's very, very critical to the extent that it's even threatening development, even economic development of the country.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's already destroyed the economies of many cities all over the north. I mean, from Borno State, all over the north, there are whole towns that are empty. You know, we're talking about towns that were thriving towns before, trading posts, completely empty because of the Boko Haram issue. So the economy is already collapsed for many of these people. There are many who have been displaced for many years since this insurgency began. And so that is even a humanitarian crisis on its own. So that you have an economic crisis, a humanitarian crisis, and then you have the war that is ongoing as we speak. And we're even talking about 43 people who were slaughtered. There are hundreds of others that are missing, that are not being found, unaccounted for, all over the north, not just in Borno State. You're talking about Katsina, all over the place. So this is the time when I think the president should engage with the National Assembly. Apart from, you know, I know we're talking about closed-door sessions. There are also open sessions, and then there are closed-door sessions where, you know, the modalities can be drawn up, where the number of questions that need to be asked in the open session, when Nigerians can hear what is going on, should be done. And then the more sensitive issues can then be discussed in a closed-door session. Because once it's a closed-door session, then it means that Nigerians don't even know what is happening. And then maybe a communique is then issued at the end of the day. So I think this is the time we should not, like I said, you know, play politics with this. And secondly, I mean, this is not the time to try and shield the president, because, you know, whatever the president does at this time, demonstrating that he actually cares would be to his benefit and the benefit of the party.
At the end of the day, when you look at Mr. President, you know, these lawmakers are still calling for the removal of the service chiefs. And
it's not listening to them. It's not listening to them. Several times they've asked for the removal of the service chiefs because they know that it is against convention to even keep them for this long. So that's why I said the president needs to come and talk to them. There are areas of disagreement between the National Assembly and the president. The National Assembly, they are convinced that these service chiefs, they've been here long enough that they need to go at this time. But the president does not think that they should go at this time. So there has to be a meeting point. He has to be able to explain to them. It's not simply to say, look, because you need them, you will also constantly ask for favor from this National Assembly, things that are beyond your own powers. you reach out to them, you need their cooperation. And constantly they are telling you that this is what they think.
Security report that does not get to the National Assembly might be available to Mr. President, and Mr. President may hinge that on the reason why he's still keeping
that's why there has to be that conversation. And that conversation, maybe after that, a lot of them will be convinced that yes, this is the president is probably right. But I know that a lot of Nigerians, seeing that we are not making progress in the area of security, will not be convinced. Anyone who thinks that we are making progress in the area of security is a dishonest person who does not fear God. We are not making progress. Things are getting worse. Bandits have seized a huge portion of our country, especially northern Nigeria. As I've said before, apart from Kano and Jigawa states, the bulk of the north, there's no security. For the Sultan to have come out to say, see, the north is the worst place to live in. When the Sultan was talking about the fact that they now open people's doors and take people away, we know that is not new. It's been happening in Kaduna, in some densely populated parts of Kaduna, Kajuru, Igabi. All of these places, they go, they just take people away. Chikun local government, they take people away. They take husband and wife away. So it has reached the point that we need to find a solution. This is not a matter of, oh, I belong to this party, I don't want to embarrass my party. No. When you pay with your life, or maybe one of your children gets taken away, you will know that there's a need to solve this problem quickly. We can't travel freely the way we used to travel. It used to be fun. Remember those days when you would just get up after work on a Friday and you say you are driving to Ilorin. You used to do it now.
Yes, yes.
You saw it as fun. Yes. Can you try that now? Go in the night. I was discussing with my boss, even to go to Ijebu-Ode is a problem.
You can't.
Because in Ijebu-Ode, even in broad daylight, they are
Friday, I leave Lagos to go to Benin.
Yes.
6 p.m.
Yes, so go and have fun.
Yes, because you'll be there in a very short time.
By 11, 12.
Yes.
You're there.
You are there and you have no fear in the world that somebody will come and will kidnap you. But in daytime, we are being kidnapped. So there is a need for explanation. We need, it can't continue. And the president, if everyone is saying, this is a solution, Yorubas will say, I'm on big money. That means two heads are better than one. If everyone is saying, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? The president cannot just simply say, oh, because I'm the president, because I have the power, I'd rather do what is in my mind. You didn't put yourself there. You were elected. And some of these people are talking to you now and telling you, Mr. President, take this action. They also supported you. They campaigned for you. They spent their money for you to be elected. Why are you shunning everybody? I mean, it's unfortunate that this is happening. But we need to take drastic measures about our security. And I hope that this session, in fact, I was discussing with a National Assembly, he said, Jide, in 19 months, we have discussed security 200 times in the National Assembly.
Wow.
That's
in 19 months.
In 19 months, we have discussed security 200 times. That's House of Reps. So just one chamber. That should tell you that security is the biggest problem that we face in our country.
That means it's all over.
Yeah.
And
that's why we need to take drastic steps before bandits kill all of us finish.
Because if you don't have Boko Haram in the northeast, we have bandits.
In the northwest and north central.
Northwest and central.
And they are coming to your state now.
Kidnappers, yes. Yes. Even south.
Yeah. It's horrible. You're hearing even down in the south, it's already people like all these bandits are becoming emboldened by what is going on, and that everybody's saying that the security infrastructure is going down.
Yes.
And so people who had even run into the bushes before are now coming out, and there's increased cases of kidnapping even in places like Rivers State, some states, Delta states, states in the northwest, in the southwest. All of that is happening now. We can all see it. And it's increasing. It's been growing since the protests and the unrest that happened in late October. We can see that there are growing incidences of kidnapping and violence, all across the country. By the time
a whole traditional ruler in Yoruba land, the first-class Oba, is kidnapped and killed immediately.
Just like that.
Just like that.
I also think that our penchant at throwing money at problems is a problem. Each time security issues are discussed, the next thing you hear is that we will equip we will give them more money. We will do this. It's always about money, money, money. But we've been doing that and we've not been getting solutions. So it means that there are issues beyond the money. And I'm not even sure. Yes, I'm not even sure if the money, we will give them money, is even pushed through.
Does it always get to them?
Do they always get that money? We are not even sure. But it is apparent that we need to change our strategy. Whatever strategy we've been using is not working. And I don't think there is another way of communicating this issue to Mr. President than what Nigerians have been saying. Nigerians have been talking, and their representatives have also been talking. It's interesting that, you know, they could discuss security issues 200 times in 19 months. That's quite high. But then we can't even feel the impact. Do you get it?
And no clear action has been taken.
There is no
Some
clear
of the
action.
suggestions are not being implemented.
Yes. So, okay, now let's ask ourselves, or maybe there is somebody that could, you know, be close to Mr. President as we are speaking now. What is the big deal about retaining the service chiefs that we currently have? Why can't we even try a change?
What does he know that the rest of us don't know?
And what does he know that we don't know? Why should it be so much a big problem for us to even change guards and experience something different? Perhaps, maybe Nigerians will be able to say that as well.
People will say maybe in Senate climes, maybe the service chief should help Mr. President. He says, sir,
we've done our best.
Yes. Please, Mr. President, we've tried our best.
Even in Senate climes that you have said, truly, if
by now they will
have left on their own. They will have left on their own, but it appears that there is no pressure on them from the person that employed them.
No pressure.
You know, I once said that maybe the president didn't come up with key performance index.
Yes,
now,
indicators. Yeah.
If we had come up with a key performance index for each of these fellows, and it is glaring that we are not getting results, at a point, the truth is you must give credit to these service chiefs. They started very well. This decline, we started experiencing this decline sometime in 2017. You know, they started well. Brate, for example, brought back discipline. There was a time when our soldiers were refusing to fight. Once they hear the sound of Boko Haram, they would take to their heels. He brought back discipline. He reorganized the army. We noticed improvement. But like every other individual, at a point, diminishing return will set in. You know, it's at that point that you then need maybe a new
another general
approach, a new approach represented by maybe a new individual. We've seen football clubs in England that sacked their coach because the coach was not doing well, and they brought in someone else. And since then, that new coach has kept them at the top. Leicester City is an example. Southampton is an example. Leicester City sacked Shakespeare. But you can see what Brendan Rodgers is doing with Leicester City now. They may not have won any title, but he's managed to keep them in the top 6. That was a team that was near relegation at a point. Then, what's it called? The German who is coaching Southampton. Southampton was going to be relegated. At a point, they even lost by 9 goals. You know? But you can see that progress. So, in football, just like in politics, so sometimes you need a change. And that change will rejuvenate the entire process. And everybody will see improvement. Everybody will jump in and say, let's do it.
Okay, we'll take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangouts. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. So, Journalist Hangouts, and we're looking at the security situation around the country, especially in the northeast. Now, Governor Zulum is now saying, is now calling that we'll bring back mercenaries. Now, if you remember the pre-Buhari dispensation, when we needed them, that in 2015, some local governments were actually under siege.
Yes.
Boko Haram took over some local governments.
Control.
Yes, that INEC, they were even contemplating maybe they are going to hold election at all in that area. But the election was postponed, and these mercenaries were brought in, some from South Africa, from a lot of guys. And they did the perfect job, and they were able to push these guys back. Jide, now is the time to call for help. Is Zulum, from the reality he has seen on ground, he should know better?
He should know better. There is no part of that state that he has not seen recent times. Even the most dangerous of local governments, like Marte, is trying to go there now and settle people down in those places. Although I do not advise him to do that, because at this time, Marte and New Marte are not safe. Even the governor will be putting his own life at risk by going to those places. But you can feel his energy, you can feel his desire. He knows that this war is not sustainable. We cannot continue to feed IDPs. In Monguno alone, we have almost 500,000 IDPs living on handouts from government.
Humanitarian disaster.
We have them in Pulka. We have IDPs in Goza. Different parts in Borno. In Maiduguri alone, we have more than 20 IDP camps, just the city.
Densely populated.
A lot of them fill to the brim with people who are dependent on government. So if anybody is desperate to see this war end and restore the state to normalcy, it is the governor. Because he has come up with a 25-year plan. How can the plan succeed when they can't take development to some local governments? Especially those local governments in Borno North. Even the local governments in Borno South and Borno Central. What you have is a situation in which the local government quarters is safe. Outside of the local government, other communities are not safe.
I hope if my producer can just give us the visuals of those schools that he has launched lately.
No, it's done. He cannot take those schools to some places.
Because
look at Monguno, for example. The federal government gets college Monguno. They had to relocate them to Maiduguri. And they gave them the Muhammadu Buhari Academy. Fantastic school. If you see some of those schools, you think they are Senate buildings of some universities with AC, POP, everything. They had to bring those students to Maiduguri so that what happened
to Chibok
in Chibok does not happen. That highway from Maiduguri to Monguno, Boko Haram kidnaps people there almost every day. They still kill our soldiers, killed our 7 soldiers there middle of last week. So they brought them to Maiduguri because the governor knows that, look, the security situation is there. He wants a solution. That's why he's suggesting that we bring these mercenaries back. That this is not a time to be unnecessarily arrogant or proud. When you want a solution, you take all the steps. I've talked about Iraq. Iraq chased ISIS fighters out of their country. They needed help from Turkey. They needed help from the US.
Yes.
They even Turkish separatists, those Kurds, they have their own fighting group. They call them the Peshmerga fighters. They had to come in to help them.
And they were armed by Americans.
Yes. No, American troops even were on ground. They didn't join any fighting, but there were up to 300 of them providing tactics,
support,
tactics and even equipment. So where you need help, you should not be afraid to call for help. That's what the governor is saying now, that, you know, he suggested before that we should use the Chadians. He has seen how effective those Chadian soldiers are. And when it comes to guerrilla warfare, you know, they fought a civil war for more than 40 years. So they have experience. That terrain, they understand that terrain. That's why the governor is saying, let's appeal to these Chadians to help us. Let's appeal to the Nigerians to help us. In those 6 weeks that we know we proposed an election in 2015, in those 6 weeks, we recovered more than 17 local governments that Boko Haram was controlling in Borno State. We recovered the 7 local governments that they were controlling in Adamawa State. The 2 local governments that they controlled in Yobe. We recovered them with the help of these people. So he's now saying we need to bring in those people to assist us because those mercenaries came with equipment, they are radar, they can see where the enemy is and they will take decisive action.
And they understand the way Boko Haram fights. They understand them and there's a way. Now, now the presidency is now saying lack of weapons hinders war against terrorists. Now, I think we've gone past the era of they've been technically defeated, that we've now so reality is done.
Okay, so we have now agreed that we don't have enough weapons.
Yes.
Even though we have been voting money for procurement of weapons since 2015. Okay, let us assume that we don't even have enough weapons.
We don't.
Yeah. Now, how fast can we get these weapons?
Difficult.
Most of the time, they will manufacture them and send to us. It takes time. So do we now wait till these weapons are manufactured and then sent to us before we start to do something? Definitely, we cannot wait. And I don't even think that issue of weaponizing the military should be something that is born out of attacks. It should be a continuous.
Yes. It has been neglected.
Yes,
it was neglected for a long time.
But we need to make it it should be a continuous endeavor. Whether there is peace or there is war. That is part of preparation. That is what it means to prepare. We've not been preparing. And unfortunately for us, this is not the time to start that preparation, which means that we need something urgent than thinking of, we should be buying the equipment. You get it? We should be doing that. But then, what Zulum has said, I think we need to consider this point. You even talk about equipment. Do you know that we still need to train our military men to use this equipment?
Yes.
So it's not just bringing the equipment. So it's a long.
Most of the manufacturers do offer.
Now, if we have some people that can do, if we have people that can help us at this point, I think it's going to be a wise decision if we go to them. If we have identified people that can be of help, then if it has been proven in the past that under 6 weeks, some of these mercenaries were able to dislodge the Boko Haram insurgents, it then means that insurgency is not as difficult as it is. It is not undefeatable. That is the point we have been able to realize. So if that is the case, we only need sincerity and commitment.
The situation is so bad that Mr. President is not, I don't know, maybe he's paying enough attention to his home states, that you find 30 villagers abducted, bandits will slaughter 7 farmers. Katsina is now very, very hot.
I mean, it's been like that for a few months. Even during, if you remember, during
the 2 years now.
Even during the lockdowns, it was quite bad in March, April, and May of this year, when it was almost on a daily basis. We're talking about this on Journalist Hangout. The next day, another big issue has occurred. And I think what's happened now, especially with Katsina and Borno State,
is that development. Because my last visit to Katsina State, one thing I noticed there is that a lot of projects, federal projects, international projects from Katsina
they were ongoing, and many have stopped. Yeah.
And those things would have been affected.
Many would have stopped because a lot of them were being run by foreigners. Many of them were being run by Chinese companies, and many some have not kicked off since the lockdown ended. I think we got to a point, or we're getting to a point where people are becoming numb to all this news. So now there's no longer a national outcry when you hear 10 people were slaughtered.
National shock.
There's no more shock. There's no shock effect any longer. This Katsina news just happened yesterday.
Will make it headline again.
No.
It's no longer. Everybody's becoming. Everybody's becoming.
In Gaza, more than 80 people were killed in one day.
So I think we're facing a horrible situation, but with programs like this is where we then bring it to the fore and talk about it and say, like, look, these are Nigerians that are being killed. These are human beings that are whose lives are being destroyed, and we're seeing it, in real life on a daily basis.
Okay, Nif is calling us from Spain. Thank you for joining us.
I'm a fan of Germany Hamdan.
Okay.
I tried to call you since before I work at night. I just want to thank you for all the job that you are doing. I just want to contribute. The problem is that we have to accept that this government of APC have failed. A lot of first just agree that this government has failed. And secondly, it is a disgrace that National Assembly, they cannot even come together.
All right, we lost Nif. Yesterday, the former theater commander of Operation Lafia Doli, Major General Olusegun Adeniyi, was convicted by a military court sitting in Abuja. The tribunal found him guilty of violating military social guidelines and ordered his demotion by at least 3 years. Let's share the video with you.
So the soldiers are not running. The 3 battalions are standing and fighting, though we have casualties. The intelligence assessment concerning the Boko Triangle is very wrong, sir. Since yesterday, we have been met by very strong resistance, more than pockets of Boko Haram. This morning, from every flank, not less than 15 gun trucks are facing us. These people have fired more than 100 RPG at us and have fired several mortars at us. And they have fired more than 100 RPGs and so many mortars on us. This is the true situation, sir. I'm here on the ground. This is General Buba here, sir. No any general is running or not leading the men. Sir, look at this soldier. They are not running away. Neither is any of them afraid. We are good to go, but here, now these things are working against us. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, for benefit of our viewers, that video was actually shot earlier, and it was Major General Olusegun Adeniyi sending like a situation report to the Chief of Army Staff in one of in one of the theaters of what they had there. I've forgotten the name of this particular place, but unfortunately, this got to the social media and it was given a different interpretation. Babajide, please explain this to us.
You know, the Chief of Army Staff gave them an instruction to go and dislodge Boko Haram from one of his bases in the northeast. That place is part of the famous Timbuktu Triangle.
Timbuktu Triangle?
Yeah, the Timbuktu Triangle. Boko Haram is very strong in the Timbuktu Triangle. We've tried to chase them out of that area, but we've not succeeded. So, and you can see from what has happened, the Boko Haram fighters knew that they were coming and they prepared to repel the attack. So with the high volume of violence that they visited on our troops, they could not advance. Some of the
mobilize their...
Yes, because that video was shot. Okay. They should have played the video to the end. You will see...
The MRAPs.
Yes, the MRAPs had been damaged. They had lost tires. He was talking about the fact that they had lost dozens of tires.
Changed the tires over and over.
They had lost dozens of tires. So if you lose your tire in such a situation, how do you then advance? And these people, they are firing you. They are attacking you with mortar fire. They are firing rocket-propelled grenades at you.
More than 100
some
RPGs.
of his troops had died at that time. If they had shown this video to the end, we would have seen a soldier who was crying because his best friend was hit, and that one died instantly. And the general Adeni was telling him, "This is not the time to cry." But General Buba, the Sector 2 commander who was beside him, was telling him, "No, leave the guy alone. You know, so that you don't, or somebody who's already very agitated and angry, you know." So, but the truth is, he did this video for General Burate to see that they did not run away from battle, that they went to the scene. And he, as Operation Lafayette Adole commander, led them to the area. Because clearly he did not, what he was afraid of.
Social media.
No. What he was afraid of was a situation in which they would say, oh, they ran away from battle, and then he faces court-martial. Because court-martials are so common in the army these days. So he and the sector commander, because they broke Operation Lafayette Adole into two. So the other general was also beside him. They led the boys to battle. But when you lose your MRAP, the MRAP is the most significant weapon that you have. It offers protection against mines, against even RPGs. But where you lose the tire of your MRAP, how do you then advance? So they were stuck in that place and they were being fired. When you are faced with that kind of fire, the only thing you can do is to retreat. There is no, given the situation that they found themselves, there is no general, no soldier can advance further. They are not even going to give you the chance to advance further with the kind of high volume weaponry that they were firing at.
They could have 100 people.
So if the soldier who leaked this thing, the soldier who leaked this video should be ashamed of himself, because this video was meant for the chief of army staff to see them on location. See them on location. See that they did not fail to go to where he told them to go to. And now we are demoting him. The good thing, in my view, is, look, even army laws, army rules are not superior to the constitution. So this soldier can still, and the other soldier can still go, I mean, they can go to court if they feel that they've not secured justice.
I think their lawyers are even...
They can go to court. And another thing, the army board still has to sit on this and then take a good decision. But I also know in our country that many soldiers have successfully secured justice against the army. But to bring them back is a problem. We are in a peculiar country. People defeat the army in court, in our regular courts, yet the judgments are not implemented. So that's another problem on its own.
BC, this is like a catch-22 situation. They have rules of engagement. They have the way they communicate with their chief of army staff. They have a way they send their messages. But some people will say, you're a general. For you to arise to the position of a major general, you should understand the rules. Somebody was actually videoing him and he was talking, and he did not know the fact that that thing can get into the social media, and this was what led to his court martial.
I think what we should be asking ourselves is the purpose. The purpose for doing something.
I can see some of them injured on the ground.
So if we look at the purpose should determine the punishment.
Yes.
Because
even the chief of army staff,
because if you look at this video,
if you want to look at this, it's not in subordination.
No, if you want to look at this situation
He said
very well, you will see that this is somebody that is also overwhelmed. They are military people, agreed. But that is not to say that they are not human beings also. This is somebody that has been overwhelmed by the enemy, and it's a cry of desperation. That is what I could say. A cry of desperation.
Okay, let me quickly pick. Aminu is calling us from Kaduna State. Thank you for joining us, Aminu. Aminu, are you there? Okay, all right.
So we should look at the desperation behind his voice. And then before we begin to, after all, in this country now, we saw a governor putting dollars inside his agbada in a video. And at the end of the day, the presidency came out to say that he's not that stupid, that he couldn't have been that stupid to do such a thing, that that video could have been doctored. In other words, we could give explanation to things when we want to give explanation to them. In this particular situation now, what has happened goes beyond him.
It's the embarrassment that actually made the army to move against him. Yes, the intention is not a bad one. He wanted the man to see that they were on ground there. And he was saying, he said, we are on ground, we are good to go. You know, so, but somebody leaked the thing to the social media. And I'm sure that in the past, there will have been this form of communication. You know? Yes, when you get, it's just like we send you to go and cover the election. You send us the first video,
live updates,
you know,
so to say.
So it's just like the man, he sent them to go and fight. And he wanted him to know that they did not disobey him, that he as a general, because normally commanders should not even lead them to that kind of fight. You could die in the process now, you know. As a major general, it's not compulsory that he should lead them. But he wanted to show courage. He led the troops. And then they faced what they faced.
So what is the implication of what they have done for him now on the morale of the soldiers?
Of other commanders.
I just want to add also that, you know, in a kind of situation like this, they called it a social media guideline breach. And it's not everything that leads to a court-martial. I feel like a court-martial and the punishment that was laid on him, and also Private Obanla, the younger gentleman, was too harsh. In the military, there are disciplinary actions that can be taken in a situation where you breach social media.
Okay, let me quickly sign out of our sister station, TVC Entertainment, and you can join us on DSTV 418, GoTV 45, and our other platforms. Okay, Yemi.
Yeah, so I was saying that there are other disciplinary actions that could have been taken against the general. He could have been issued a warning, a stern warning. They had already even punished him by removing him from
laws, their rules,
from being on the
different
front.
from ours.
No, I know. What I'm saying is that even in the military,
even in the military,
it's not everything that leads.
Even it's not everything. It's right. It's not everything that leads to court-martial. This one, this punishment, because somebody was so irresponsible to leak what was supposed to be a private conversation between the chief of army staff.
This full video, you will see him when he started addressing the chief of army staff and addressing him with respect. At the point in time, he was doing like this, he was doing like this. If you watch the video,
if you know the gap between, in terms of seniority, between the chief of army staff and many of them did not meet him in NDA. The gap is huge. Yes, now they can't look him in the face. It's not their mates, you know. So he respects him, and he wanted to.
Lieutenant General.
Yes, it's just one. It's just one step.
But in terms of
years of service, look, the difference is like night and day. You know, forget that it's just one step. You know, the chief of air staff, the gap between him now and his spokesman, Ibikunle, it's just one step.
Really?
Yes, Bukole is not an AVM, Air Vice Marshal. But in terms of seniority, don't even compare them. So, the years of service. So now, in this case, because we have to be fair to this fellow, I'm sure that in the past, this kind of communication will have happened. Even the chief of army staff himself will say, okay, you are at the location. Let me see you people at the location. And then when you now face constraints, this is why we can't advance. You need to see us. We didn't run away from battle.
He wasn't doing this for the public.
No. I'm telling you that if he had not done this before, he would not have tried. He wanted them to see them in the bush and see the problem. They were showing the MRAP. They were trying to change the tire and all that. He wanted them to see what was going on.
Wow.
In the military now, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of bad blood. Otherwise, how could a sensible individual now go and leak what was meant solely for the chief of army staff? You go and leak it to the public because you wanted to embarrass the army. You wanted to embarrass the commander, you know, of Operation Lafia Dole and the chief of army staff. And when people will interpret it, they said he was saying that they didn't have weapons. He never said they didn't have weapons. Some of the weapons were immobilized, and it's not anybody's fault.
And he was talking about the magnitude of the attack.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we know, some of us know that Boko Haram has this capability. So this is an opportunity. Nigerians now saw, so they can fire 100 RPGs, so they have all of that weapons.
100 RPGs.
If you did not believe that they have capability, look at their weapons that the Chadian troops bombed. Look at their armory. That kind of armory, shouldn't that even scare people? So this is the thing. This is an enemy that has capability. Let's not deceive ourselves. An enemy that can go to army barrack and sack soldiers. It's not an enemy that you can play with.
That can go to a super camp.
They've been attacking super camps.
Super camp.
Yes. So what are we talking about? An enemy that can go to Baga and chase army away, and they retain the place for a long time, only for us to be told that they were repelled. And I came back from Maiduguri and said they were not repelled. I spent my Christmas in 2018 in Borno State, and I knew at that time that they were not repelled. Many Nigerians didn't believe me, but after some time, when we successfully entered the place and chased them away, the Joe Army Star congratulated the troops who carried out that mission. At that point, people now, if you repel them, why are you just congratulating them for entering the place?
Okay, we have to move on now. Now, the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, has praised his Osun State counterpart, Gboyega Oyetola, for signing off the management of Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, LAUTECH, saying the governor's action represents a good milestone in Southwest integration agenda. Last week, both state governors agreed to cancel the joint ownership of the troubled institution, which has for long remained a major problem for the university. It has not been a sweet story for this LAUTECH. Since the states, the joint ownership, we have Osun State having their own stake, Oyo State having their own stake. Sometimes Osun State will spend money, Oyo State will not spend, sometimes Oyo State will spend, Osun will not spend. It's such a messy story. So, and they've toyed with a lot of lives.
Yes.
In this school, LAUTECH Ogumosho. I've been to that school. I'm sorry for those people that graduated from LAUTECH.
It's been quite horrible. I mean, this is a university that's one of the best state-owned universities in Nigeria for a long time. And you know, with at any point in time, you have about 30,000 students in school. And you know, they've been going through this crisis upon crisis, chronic lack of funding for a very long time.
Lecturers.
You know, so now I think this is a step in the right direction, and hopefully we can, you know, finally get the university back on track to be once again one of the very best. You know, I think this is a step in the right direction, and now it will be under the ownership and control and management of one state. So you know what to do. You know how to plan. Exactly. You know how to plan in your budget whatever you need to do to ensure that the students and of course the staff community are well taken care of.
And to be fair to Osun State, the number of institutions at the same time, Osun State, we have Osun State University here. And if you count the number of higher institutions that Osun State is saddled with, responsible for, you will know that, look, let's LAUTECH just leave.
I even think it's even a win-win situation in the sense that, you know, Osun State is retaining the medical school of LAUTECH, which will be complementary to its own state university. So it's actually a good decision. It's not as if Oyo State just took everything. Besides, the good thing for me is the fact that the two governors are talking about the interest of the students, which is very, very important. Because another thing about the institution,
not forgetting that they are not from the same political parties, but for them to work together. Seyi Makinde is PDP and Oyetola is APC.
But for the cause of the interest of the students of the school, they both came together.
Good leaders.
Good leaders. I really want to commend them because the step they've taken, we may not understand it now. But in another 10 years, you will get the implication of this thing they've done. Remember that this LAUTECH, as good as it was, has become the almost the headquarters of Yahoo boys in Nigeria. You'll be shocked the number of students that are into 419
and cultism.
And this is a university, like I mentioned, that was rated the best state university for a very long time. Interestingly, I have worked with so many LAUTECH graduates. That is the truth. And they are very very good products. You will know that these are good products. So which means that the university has the ability and capacity to actually churn out very qualitative products. But for all the problems here and there that have, bedeviled the institution. So it's a good step in the right direction. And like Governor Oyetola mentioned, there is a memorandum of understanding signed between the two states, and this also spells out the conditions, the modalities, and the steps to be taken in the next few months and few years. So it is believed that both state governments will, stick to that memorandum of understanding. And ensure that
the National University Commission.
Yes, it has to go through the National Universities Commission and make sure that at least at the end of the day, everybody sticks to his own part of the agreement, and we now get. And I don't even have any problem. I don't think there is any fear, based on what we have seen so far among the two governors. I really commend the two of them. Both of them are statesmen. And I want to commend Governor Oyetola especially, because he did not allow any form of pride or arrogance to come into play. Because some people could have thought that all our investments in this university all this year, why should we now be the one that will now lose out? That didn't happen, and I think that is highly commendable. Yeah.
Julie?
Yes, I think the NUC and Governor Oyetola are the true heroes of this whole thing, because the NUC played a critical role in taking this agreement over the line. And you won't believe that there have been talks about yielding this university to Oyo State since the year 2010. It just didn't materialize because of disagreements here and there. And the significant thing, just as we said earlier, was the fact that even when identical parties were holding sway in both states, they still couldn't hammer out an agreement. But here we are now, PDP in Oyo and the APC in Osun State, yet they were able to agree.
Maturity.
So Oyetola said, look, I had to sign this off by brushing aside ego and thinking of the future of the children.
Out of every strike, those lecturers are back up on Lautech, always on strike.
Yes, disagreement, because if their salaries don't get paid on time, you don't expect teachers to work. So this is the thing. Funding had always caused friction between both states, but right now we will no longer have those states that used to cause friction. And they used to have Osun Forum, or your forum. All that will end now. We just have the Lautech Forum, just one undivided institution. And Lautech hopefully can regain its past, because its past is a glorious one. It used to be the best run state university in Nigeria.
And it should be done in such a way that nobody from Osun State will be victimized.
No, the thing is, there is a memorandum of understanding that was signed, and that transition period of 12 months, during that transition period of 12 months, it is hoped that all of those agreements will be implemented to the letter. And Governor Oyetola also said that, because your governor went to greet him, to thank him for agreeing to it. Because if Oyetola didn't want it, it would not happen.
Somebody could just frustrate it.
Yes, now, and he told him that, look, let's just make sure that all of these agreements that we've reached are implemented, because that's the only obstacle to smooth take-up.
Statement.
So I appreciate both men for brushing their egos aside and truly working for
Governor Seyi Makinde and Governor Oyetola.
That is an example of how to govern
yes,
in the interest of the people.
Political differences aside.
Did not play any role in this.
And work for the common good.
Common good.
So generations to come now will remember Governor Oyetola and Governor.
People will remember him as an exemplary leader.
Yes,
someone who has leadership qualities.
And Governor Seyi Makinde. And finally, let's turn to the economy. This is not the best of times for Nigeria's economy as the naira has crashed once again, and this time to over 30-year low against the dollar, closing at 500 naira to $1 at the parallel markets. The Central Bank of Nigeria devalues the exchange rates between the dollar and the naira. The Apex Bank also cleared beneficiaries of the diaspora remittances to now receive and withdraw through their designated banks in dollars. Julie, I can't wrap my head around this. This is because it will affect so many things. So, for me, I don't know.
You see, it's not unexpected. We have all kinds of problems. We are not producing. We are not competitive. We cannot unilaterally fix the exchange rate in our country. We keep throwing money at it, but we will not achieve anything in the end. When Emefiele took over as CBN governor, the naira was exchanging at around 165 to the dollar. But look at where we are today. And it is not as if he has not tried to use money
to defend it.
To defend the naira. He's always tried to do that, but let me tell you,
did that for a long
no matter
time
what,
when it was 360.
No matter what, from 450, because things hardly go down in Nigeria, from 500, maybe it would do best to bring us back to 450.
Not 360.
No. And one of the ways by which we can actually get consistent supply of foreign exchange is the diaspora remittances. But a lot of our own diasporans now, they have become speculators. They too are waiting to see whether, from this 500 maybe it can go to 600. That's the thing. Because what speculators are doing is such a big problem. The CBN governor complained about them the other day. But how do you defeat speculators? You can only defeat speculators if you have consistent supply. And all that the CBN has done, we are going to be supplying BDCs with sufficient forex. It has never worked because they are unable to keep that line of supply for a long time. They are unable to sustain it.
For a long time,
so
we kept a parallel market. Like the two.
You see, this where you talk to the CBN governor, he will say he does not understand why Nigerians see the black market rate as the real exchange rate. But it's the closest to reality. It's the closest to reality. That's why if nobody will say, it's 360, nobody will say it's 380. No. Because how many places can you go where people will say, it's actually 360? We've got to do something. We've got to stimulate the economy so that there will be consistent production. In the 80s and 70s, when our currency was much stronger, we had many industries. Before our eyes, more than 500 companies have folded up in our country. A lot of them have become churches now. Their warehouses have returned to churches.
Yeah.
Before our eyes, we saw Michelin and others go to Ghana. Now even Nestle is planning to leave. And you want your exchange rate to be strong. What are you selling to the world? That is the question.
Toyota wanted to bring in a plant to Africa. Yes. They had to go to Ghana. And
of course,
whatever they manufacture in Ghana, we are going to consume.
Even our exchange rate volatility will not let people want to come and invest here. Dubai, the worst that can happen, if you are talking about volatility, maybe 5%. That's the change. Their currency has been consistent. The same thing with the South Africans. They don't experience what we experience in Nigeria, whereby from 165, after a few years, we are on 500. It will never happen like that in the UAE. It will not happen like that in South Africa. So we've got to do something. We are not producing what we don't need to import. Why are we importing? We're just wasting our scarce forex on things that we don't need, things that we can produce.
Import jollof rice, cooked jollof rice.
Yes, now. And all of those department stores, you see them, even egusi, the egusi now packaged and sold back to us. Some years back, when I first saw palm oil processed abroad and sent back to us in Nigeria, I said, Otio. Because even the Malaysians, they came now to take our palm kernel. But today, do you know we now import palm oil? We can't meet even local production of palm oil. We are now importing processed palm oil to our country.
Yeah, I think the problem is very, very deep. Look at our major source of revenue, which is the crude. How do we process it? We transfer it.
Take it out.
We take it out.
Venezuela.
This is processed, and we now use our dollar to bring it back home. That is a major problem. Another major problem is the parallel market we are talking about. Why should Nigeria continue to run to exchange rates? People have complained about this for a long time. Do you know that as we speak, there are some people that could be getting this dollar at the rate of 170? Because for pilgrims...
From government.
Yes, from government.
Yeah.
If you want to go for pilgrimage, the exchange rate is not even at 390 something. And you can imagine the manipulations in our system. There are some people will get that thing for 170, they will exchange it for 390, it will now go for the 500 that we are talking about. So it's like deliberately we make our system to be fraudulent so that some people can benefit from it. So until we become very serious-minded, and you will be shocked to know the people that will be behind all of these things.
No, it's a politician, it's a product of corruption. Somebody who has stolen 2 billion, he has 2 billion naira cash. What is he thinking of? He's ready to go and mop up dollars somewhere. Even if you are selling at 460, he's ready to buy it because he's ill-gotten money. He doesn't think he has lost anything, but he can keep the dollars. A lot of the dollars in circulation in our country, they are products of corruption. When it's time to bribe judges, you see, I've spoken to a road exchange operator before who said, during these election tribunals, that's when we get a lot of dollars. Because people bribe judges with dollars. They take judges to let them meet in Ghana. They enter a supermarket in Ghana and then they exchange dollars. So those dollars end up in the hands of road exchange operators.
How did we get here?
It's a very strange situation. I mean, this whole thing, where we are now at 500 naira, started earlier in the year, probably about February or March, when those with the resources started buying a lot of dollars at 360, because they got wind that the dollar will be devalued. So even the naira will be devalued. Even up till now, there are people who are still holding on to millions of dollars, expecting it to go up, so that they can make their spread. So even at 500 naira, there are people who are still not sold. And then CBN made this mistake of releasing another $2 billion into the markets a few weeks ago to the Bureau de Change, with the aim of flooding the market so that the naira would appreciate. But it did not appreciate because, again, those with the resources mopped it up, and now it has gone up to, because it created a scarcity, and which is what has now taken it to 500, and it's still climbing. Because there are people who just have the resources, no matter how much you put out there. There are people who are sitting on $100 million just sitting on it, waiting, and they've been sitting on it since it was 36, waiting for it to go up. And you have individuals, organizations, businessmen, politicians, all sitting on lots of dollars, and that is what is causing the artificial scarcity there is right now, and it will continue to go up until, you know, maybe the oil price goes up to $70, then suddenly we are liquid, and then we can now
because even CBN gives $10,000 weekly to BDCs now.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
A lot
It's
of
too small.
businesses that rely on imports of raw materials, they are looking for dollars they can't find. So what they are putting in the system is grossly inadequate for these guys. Why you saw the airlines complaining this week that look, we need dollars, but we can't find dollars. We then have to go and buy in the black market. They use black market rate. So a lot of people, those who are importing raw materials for drugs, all of them now, because there is a dollar illiquidity in our country, they then have to go and buy from the black market, and it's driving up prices and threatening to kill businesses.
Flight ticket that was 600,000 as the last 2 months, it's over 1 million naira now.
So the problem now is we still come back to our crude, the main source of our revenue.
Yes.
And that is the problem. It's because the value has dropped in the international markets. And just like you said, once it goes up now, we have more money, then the CBN will be able to defend the naira. But is that the way to defend the naira?
It's not enough.
Is that we
are
cannot
not
do that?
What you are spending importing petroleum products is just too much. We have refineries with combined in-stock capacity of 450,000 barrels. What do? They are not generating, they are not refining 1 liter of petrol in a whole year. And the NNPC, they came out to say we have not refined anything. So, and you are spending money. Look at what we are doing. We are now importing refined petrol from the Niger Republic. What we spend importing petrol from Niger Republic, we could have used to build modular refineries. This same Niger that we are helping them. Today, Niger is the 10th fastest growing economy in Africa. Nigeria is 41 in Africa currently. Whereas this same country, Niger is number 10 in Africa, fastest growing economy. According to Brookings Institute, the IMF and the World Bank, Nigeria is 41 in Africa and 88 in the world. Whereas in 2014, Nigeria was the 3rd fastest growing economy in the world. You can see that we have stagnated. We are a big country that has just simply stagnated. And anything that does not grow, ultimately will die. So we are facing serious problems. Well, your economy, if you continue like this, we refuse to grow, we are just stagnating. We will be looking at
we
Venezuela.
We are not even stagnating. We have gone backward now. Because if we were number 3 and now we are
we are not growing.
We have gone back now.
General, thank you for your contribution and welcome back.
Yes.
It's good to have you. It's good to have you back.
Thank you so much.
And also thank you, Olabisi. Thank you for your contribution and always been there. The best for himself.
May Nigeria be great. There is one from me, Adewola somewhere.
Okay.
Always praying for Nigeria.
Nigeria must be
but prayers are not enough. The people in government ought to push Nigeria to the threshold of greatness. If we spend eternity simply praying until Jesus Christ returns, if we do not match prayer with work, they won't go far.
That person is an unrepentant Buharist.
Okay, that person that. Is it because Buhari that she said Nigeria will be great? Just by mouth.
Thank you. The commander of RRS.
Yes,
we have this new publication. The Good Guys. RRS saving Lagos from those bad boys. So we have the 3rd edition of this edition, and Malik called yesterday to say every resource person on Journalist Hangouts is entitled to this.
So very glossy,
well produced.
Yes,
very well produced.
So any news magazine editor will be proud of.
Yes,
and envious of this.
I think it's free, subsidized by Lagos State government.
Great.
You can see and some of the experts of the rapid response.
The RRS is the pride of the police.
Any day in Lagos. It's a model.
we hope that other states too can come up with their own security outfit, working with the police.
Well funded.
You know, that will be really the pride of our people. We need the police to be responsible, to be responsive, and make Nigerians proud.
Yes, and the media team.
Not a policeman that will be drunk. They will be drunk and they will be pouring pure water on his head
and they try to dispose his
and then they will take his gun away. We will not even know who took his gun.
You need to see this costume. You wouldn't believe that this
is the Nigerian police.
Yes, the good guys. Just get
so they are good guys. If you experience a flat tire and an RRS person is in the area, you see that those soldiers, those policemen will come to assist you. I've seen them in that situation before. Yes. That's the sort of police that we want.
Yes. If you run out of fuel,
leadership is key.
They give you fuel. You know, Third Milan Bridge.
Yes, that's very
true. Run out of
a lot of those dark spots, you see them, they are there.
They are there.
Like this,
down.
For a long time, boys used to misbehave.
Yes. Now,
but with the presence of the police, everyone knows that they are not messed up.
And their presence is very strong. I mean, even if you look at the Ojota axis, on the way to Igorodu, they're always present there 24 hours. You know,
I think that's the deterrence of sorts.
And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. See you tomorrow. I'm Ayodele Uzuba.